Don't worry, it's just me, guys. It's just me. John, you're fucking stupid. I know. I know. I gotta try to get my glasses on with these luscious locks. So thick. There we go. I don't get the way I dry my hair. Like still, it's like back here is still wet, but like up here it's nice and dry. Like I'll dry my hair, right? I'll dry it the first time, and then I'll put the towel in the dryer to heat it up. It's like 5 minutes or so just to heat it up, so that way, it doubles. I don't have a dryer, a hair dryer. So it's one of the easiest ways I have of quickly drying my hair. And then, even if after focusing on the back, it's still fucking wet. It's like a fucking whore's pussy on a Friday night. It's just still fucking wet. Anyway, let me shrink myself down here. Anyway, yeah, so I saw this and I was like, oh gee, this is truly a conundrum. Why is the entertainment industry so focused on the 90s? Because the 90s were rad. That's why. Every time we see like a remake, it's like, oh hey, you know that Disney movie from the 90s? Yeah, we're gonna. Hey guys, you remember Power Rangers? Yeah, it's all this 90s stuff because the 90s were amazing. Really, innovation of movies, like with what movies could do for special effects. Look at Nintendo or late Nintendo. It was like what 1987. 86, something like that. But then we're pushing into the 90s. We've got the Sega, we've got the Super Nintendo, which huge innovations for games. In the middle to late 90s, we had the fucking Nintendo 64. We had the freaking PlayStation, which pushed games even further. Graphics or special effects for movies were progressing. I mean, fucking Matrix. Need I say more? So yeah, people remember the 90s as amazing. So many hit really, like Jurassic Park. One of the best movies of the 90s. It was great for action movies, it was great for adventure movies, it was great for, if you want your thriller, rom-com or whatever you're into. You had Titanic, which was at the time the most selling, the highest grossing movie of all time. So you have all these things that came out of the 90s. So yeah, why wouldn't the entertainment industry want to keep capitalizing on it? Hey guys, remember all the cool stuff? Well, we're gonna bring it back, but it's gonna be soulless and hollow. You guys remember Aladdin, we're gonna live action remakes, but it's gonna be hollow and it's gonna be empty and it's just gonna be a nostalgic cash grab because we know you kids were growing up in the 90s. Anyway, anyone paying attention to pop culture for the last 2 decades has noticed it doesn't move anymore. It treads water, and worst of all, it memorializes. But not in the poetic sense. Current year entertainment doesn't enshrine culture touchstones like a Homeric poem. It's more like a corporate memo dug out of filing cabinet marked boomer monetization. Yeah, again, they're playing on your nostalgia. So that's why these movies, Snow White and all that have been so bad, even though Snow White was 1937. It's still why they do it, because they're like, oh hey, you old timers, you remember seeing Snow White when it first arrived in the cinemas. Well, now you get to relive that nostalgia you had when you were just a young lad or lass in the 30s and 40s. Yeah, but they make it as soulless as possible. It's not the same magic as it was before. Like Jurassic Park back then, that was great. Now we've got what, 7, 8 movies, and it's just it. Even the third one, the Jurassic Park, The Lost World, great. But then you have the next one, and then it's just like, okay, you can stop with Jurassic Park now. But it's just banking on nostalgia, and unfortunately, people are dumb enough to keep giving into it. Don't kid yourself. What we're seeing now is not organic nostalgia movement. It's targeted extraction, and the target is Gen Y. I remember those Tiger Electronics. I had a few. I also had there was another one, not Tiger Electronic, but there was another brand that kind of did the same thing. Actually, hang on. I think they have ones. They have it on YouTube because I had an Aladdin one. I had Sonic. I don't think it was Tiger Electronics. I think it was something else. Hang on. I was right. It was Tiger. Yeah, this is the one I had. This is the one that I had. How about, I think it was another one was Sonic that I had. The Snick. Was it Tiger? No. Yeah, they were all from Tiger. Yeah, these are, I had all of these when I was a kid. Tiger Electronics, Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, I had I think it was, I think I had number 3. I might have had them all, but, yeah, I mean, I had all those when I was a kid. I think all of us did. Anyway, let's unpack the rationale at work here. 1990s nostalgia already happened. It kicked off about a decade ago, like clockwork. That's when we got first wave of Gen Y. Gen Ys hit their mid-30s, just old enough to have kids and money, just young enough to still be emotionally tethered to their childhood. So the entertainment industry industrial complex dusted off the Pokemon, the Power Rangers, and the pixel fonts and the neon gradients. They hit us with the retro T-shirts, remastered NES games, and painfully self-aware sitcom revivals. Yeah, like bringing back they're bringing back King of the Hill. I mean, really, why? They're bringing back Malcolm in the Middle. So it's just they're banking on nostalgia. I mean, they brought back fucking Beavis and Butthead. What they should bring back is Celebrity Deathmatch. Now that's a show I would love to see come back. Not because it's nostalgic, because I mean Celebrity Deathmatch, come on, but it's still relevant. You still have celebrities you could see fight each other in claymation, and I would want it to remain claymation because that's what made the show so great in the first place. When they started doing like the CG stuff, and it just no, it needs to be the claymation. I'm Johnny Gomez, and I'm Nick Diamond. Judge Mills Lane, let's get it on. Now make it a good, clean fight. Now let's get it on. But yeah, I would love to see that. That would be great to see. But you know what I want to see? I want to see MTV be made into MTV again. Play music, not these fucking shitty ass reality TV shows. Let's get back to MTV being music TV. Same thing with VH1. VH1, same thing, was like music. They had like the what was the show? God, I forgot the name. But yeah, VH1, same thing. Pop-up video. Wow. You're like, John, I haven't thought about that in years. I know. See, you're welcome. You're welcome. And guess what? I didn't make a dime. I mean, this video probably isn't going to really do that many. It's not going to do big PP numbers. So I'm not going to make anything from this video. There you go. Some nostalgia, some quality nostalgia, free of charge. You're welcome. Anyway, we're now years past. Oh wait, what? But in a marked departure from past corporate milking fads, the Madison Avenue pitchmen didn't jettison the 90s retro campaign after its sell-by date. Instead of moving on to a manufactured nostalgia craze, they broke the pattern and are now going back to the 90s again. We're now years past the shelf life of the 1990s nostalgia cycle, and yet the machine is still pumping out 90s flavored products like it's 2014. Got Life is Strange right here. Got all good old Max. This should be the part where they transition to millennials' coming of age memories. As we go on, we remember. You know that song from Vitamin C or whatever her name was? I think it was Vitamin C, wasn't it? That song was everywhere, being played for graduations and all that. But the era of iPods, new metal, and MySpace. MySpace. Oh, MySpace, Tom, you'll always be my best friend. You'll always be my number one. But instead of ushering the Y2K chic hot score revival, the system is circling back. We'll circle back. They're gonna Gen Psaki that shit. The system is circling back for seconds, sloppy seconds from the Clinton years. They're reheating nostalgia, but keeping it in the microwave for a little too long, and then it's gonna come out. It's gonna be like fucking exploded on the outs. You know, it's gonna be out. It's just that's why they tell you on the package and the box, you know, if it can be put in the microwave or not. You just didn't want to listen, and now you have a subpar product that's not really gonna do much for you. The reheating and nostalgia movement that already assumed room temperature. They just and just reading the list should tell you why they won't. But for the folks, it's cheap seats to answer, as always, at cultural ground zero. But let's take a step back a little for a little context. The Fonz. Apparently, people when they is that fucking Mr. Miyagi right there? Very good, Daniel-san. Very good, Daniel-san. Yeah, it was Pat Morita. Pat fucking Morita. I miss him. That dude was great. That dude was amazing. The model for modern nostalgia, nostalgia grift was perfected by the baby boomers as they reached middle age in the late 1980s and 90s. We got the big chill, Forrest Gump, and 100 Motown CD compilations. Everything from Happy Days reruns to Woodstock 94 was designed to cash in on their idealized memory of the 1960s. It worked. Boomers had money, boomers had clout, and more importantly, boomers had a shared culture. Cloud. Oh god, Final Fantasy VII. Man, look at those graphics. And this was amazing back then. This was because this was coming off of like Super Nintendo and Sega that didn't have 3D models. You had like Donkey Kong Country and Star Fox and all that that kind of pushed what it could do, but we weren't getting true 3D. And then you have stuff like Final Fantasy or Mario 64 that really showed what gaming could actually be. You know, and I think Nintendo 64 really did. Banjo-Kazooie, Mario 64, Ocarina of Time. Need I say more? These games that a lot of games nowadays still take inspiration from because of how revolutionary they were. Even if you look back and say, well, the graphics weren't that great. Maybe not. But the whole idea of this 3D space, having things going on, you know, Ocarina of Time or Banjo-Kazooie, what a platformer could be. Even now, people are still playing Banjo-Kazooie because of how solid of a game it is. People don't care about the graphics. It's because it's a good game. Final Fantasy VII. Great story. Such a big game. It had multiple discs that you had to, you know, switch out. Would get to a certain point, you're like, okay, switching the other disc. Chrono Cross, same thing. You know, after a certain point, you had like a 2-disc game, and then once you get through the first disc, it tells you at a certain point to go ahead and put that second disc in. So it was really, really good. The last part is key. you can't sell nostalgia for a time no one remembers fondly, or worse, a time that had no real character to begin with. So when Gen Y aged up and hit their prime spending years, the powers that be tried the same trick. They gave us 2D throwback games, bought back Crystal Pepsi, which I remember those. I remember that. I mean, I didn't drink it a lot, but once or twice, I think. Released the Sega Genesis Mini, and it worked for a while. But then they realized something terrifying. There's nothing to mine after 1997. And as I've written before, 1997 marks the point in Western pop culture where diminishing returns set in with a vengeance. It was the last year of original popular entertainment that still felt connected to to a living tradition. Does that mean all cultural products before 1997 were good? No, but for the most part, it was still alive. Does that mean all cultural products after 1997 is bad? No, but when it's good, it's usually by accident. After that, the rot sets in. Movies became hollow propaganda vehicles. Music fell into a referential loop. Comics became a joke. By the early aughts, most mainstream entertainment wasn't crafted. It was workshopped by a committee of pop cult high priests. That's why there's no 2000s nostalgia movement. It's not that it's too early. It's not that there's no consumer base. On the contrary, it's because jogging people's memories of the aughts conjured up mostly bad memories, and the people in charge don't want to remember. Don't take my word for it. Look at what's being released right now this year. Blippo, Panic Games, an FMV throwback that imitates the look and feel of channel surfing in the mid-90s. Right now, right down to the CRT fuzz and choppy audio. It's not a game in a traditional sense. It's a vibe sim. Less retro gaming that fetishize interface archaeology. Pogs. Power of the Golden Slammer. Yes, it's exactly like it sounds. A physics-based digital recreation of Pogs. Complete with collectible cardboard discs, rare holographic slammers, and the middle school lunchroom aesthetics of 1995. I had so many Pogs. I really did. I had them all. They were just big old plastic bag, like a Ziploc. I think we all had Pogs. Come on. They were Poggers. Is anyone even still saying Poggers? I don't know. I know that's like stream, like Twitch speak. I'm not a Twitch streamer, and I don't hear anyone really saying it anymore. So hopefully the word Poggers is pretty much dead. They couldn't help themselves but use crude N64 style polygons, though. Mixtapes. Annapurna Interactive. Billed as a coming-of-age narrative steeped in 90s culture, Mixtape doesn't even pretend to hide a strategy. It's a playable Gen Y memory reel, scored by The Cure and Silverchair, replete with VHS filters and the kinds of party scenes that existed only in ads that aired during Daria commercial breaks. La 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 la. I miss Daria. They didn't come out with. I think they didn't, right? So far, like no Daria revival, no like remake or reboot or anything. Daria is still one of a kind, which is good. These projects aren't anomalies; they're signals. The industry knows it can't sell you the future. It can't sell you the present. So it's selling your childhood back to you again. If you doubt it, let's try a thought experiment. If the entertainment complex were following the clock, we should now be knee deep in aughts nostalgia. And where is it? Where are the wistful PS2 simulators? Where are the Nickelback comeback? Where's the Nickelback comeback tour? Where are the lovingly rendered recreations of YouTube AMVs? I mean, AMVs may not be, but YouTube poops are still a thing. That's like early YouTube shit. See, John, I see what you did there. But YouTube poops, they're still a huge thing. We've seen none of it. So again, why? Because no one wants to remember the early 2000s, the tip of the cultural nihilism iceberg that's still crushing us all. And unlike the 1990s, which still have cultural artifacts created by human beings, the aughts where when Hollywood TV studios and AAA publishers revved up those recycling machines. We were being plied by media, curated by algorithms and death cult dictates. Gen Y doesn't remember the era fondly. Millennials' knee-jerk memory hold anything that happened before last week, and Zoomers are allergic to it. Which leaves the mass media megacorps with only one answer. Murder. I mean, what? They hit rewind on the last decade that mattered. From that perspective of the people making decisions in Hollywood, it's all quite logical. Actually, pretend you're Hollywood skin suit designer or a AAA bugman. What? I'm getting old, so I might be hearing voices. Okay, I wasn't hearing voices, it was just next door. More dollars from a generation that isn't reproducing itself and has no upward mobility. You can't sell them on the future because your vision of the future is the present. We need to be unburdened by what has been. So you repackage the past again, but you can't go too far back because Gen Y doesn't care about the 70s. So what do? You loop the tape. You dust off that Friends font again. You tell your dev team to add more scan lines. You greenlight a Netflix series about kids in 1996 riding around on BMX bikes and solving mysteries. Like zoinks! You go back for the dregs of the decades. You already strip-minded because that's all that's left. If you're wondering where this ends, the answer is that's the neat part. You don't. It doesn't. Not until Legacy Media collapses. So expect another round of Jurassic Park requels, Saturday morning cartoon mashups, and ironic ads. What we're living through is not a living culture, but an entertainment feedback loop. A tape machine that can only remix its last coherent signal. It can't innovate, and it can only rewind. Don't be kind, rewind. And if it rewinds far enough, maybe the cultural necromancers holding seances in New York and LA think they'll stumble onto what they lost in 1997, but they won't, because that world isn't coming back. And until someone starts telling new stories that show people real truth and beauty, we'll be trapped in the wreckage of cultural ground zero. If there's a silver lining, it's this. Some people are waking up. They're not just noticing the repetition, they're repulsed by it. They realize that culture can't just be a digital window giving a false view of a better time. With some new pub authors, indie game devs, and maverick animators are making more than mere retro product. They're taking real risks. Maybe they're flawed, but here's the key. They're looking forward. And I've said, it's like, you can just, things were just more innovative. That's why you go on Steam, you know, with indie games, and why so many of them have opted in just to take the, you know, old style of like Nintendo 64 or Super Nintendo or those kinds of graphics, because the games are good. They don't care like, oh, I need to make my game look as realistic as possible. No, they know that those games will do well because they're making it, one, a good game, and they're making it in a style that people like and remember. But mainly because they're thinking of like, okay, the games back then, what were they like? And that's what they're doing. They're making the games that people liked. That's why you see so many like Ocarina of Time or Zelda, you know, clones. I'm not gonna say rip-offs because most of them are pretty good. Metroid, stuff like that. There's a reason why the whole Metroid thing is like a thing now. Whether it be Metroid or Castlevania or Hollow Knight or, you know, one of the last Prince of Persia game, or possibly now God of War. The Metroidvania, where it's just one big connected map and like through tunnels or different, and people go back and opt in to do that because it's memorable. They're good games. But nowadays, people can't make anything creative to save their life. You know, because they're so worried about throwing shit in that doesn't really need to be there, that they're taking away the main part of what people are looking forward to, the entertainment. And as long as, you know, game studios or Hollywood keeps throwing in shit that people don't care about, all the stuff, no matter how nostalgic, it's going to fail. In case it still needs to be said, we don't need another round of 90s nostalgia. We need stories worth remembering 20 years from now. The only way to end cultural ground zero is to move past it, not in time, but in spirit. We don't move forward by going back to the 90s, but by doing what the 90s pretended to do while actually setting a cultural time bomb, tearing down dead forms, and making art that's weird, fun, and human. Yeah. The future is waiting, but only if you delete the flying toaster screensaver. And no real comments. But like I said, there's like how many Jurassic Parks? Are they good? I guess. But they're not really pushing what cinema could be like they did back in the 90s. Animation. Like Disney. You know, you had Lion King, you had Aladdin, you had Hercules, you had Hunchback of Notre Dame, yeah, all these amazing movies from the 90s. And not that's just Disney. You also had like Road to El Dorado, which actually wasn't that in the 2000s? Hang on. Yeah, it was 2000, so it's still there to where it showed what animation could be. It was a really good movie. It's still completely underrated. Road to El Dorado is still by far one of the most underrated animated movies. But yeah, there's a reason why they keep going back. Like, hey guys, you guys remember the Power Rangers? You guys remember this show? You remember? Because they think you're stupid and you're like, oh my god, nostalgia, take my money. Like I said, we got a freaking King of the Hill revival coming. Malcolm in the Middle. Just all these shows that people remember, they're bringing back because Hollywood isn't creative anymore. They're just like, oh, let's just take the shit that people remember and just revive it. Oh, necromancers! But anyway, yeah, let me know what you guys remember the most about the 90s and if it's worth continuously bringing back. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.